With Yama's Kozuval's great rest, Sakur's last great battle is officially started. In the next episode, both Uncle Kumeli and Yamaz will heat up the war. There will be bomb moves. Who will be next to the slope and against whom in the Great War? There are big surprises in this regard. On the other hand, an unexpected development awaits Yamaz regarding Efsun. Whose side did Vartolu choose and why is his nose constantly bleeding? The surprise scenario about Kumeli Kozuval will please everyone. The successive moves of Yamaz will keep the excitement at the highest level. The shocking Colton script and secret-filled facts will surprise everyone. We'll talk about all of this and more, all the details you shouldn't miss out on in a minute. Let's start right now. First, let's start with the last scene of the last episode, namely the declaration of war by Yamaz. The deplorable state of Sakar, the division of the young people and their distancing from each other. Declaring war on Yamaz, who learned that his family was dispersed and his uncle's drug business. This was more than enough for. If he finds out that Uncle Kumeli was behind the torture he suffered for 2 years. This will also appear in the following chapters, then there will be no stone on the stone. Although Vartolu tries to find a middle way by explaining the right reasons for himself. He did not succeed in that, and what he was afraid of happened to him. So the war broke out between his father's son and half of his father. We will soon come to who will be with Vartolu and his illness. Let's underline this before, the pit will now be divided in half. Instead of the enemies outside, the family and those in the pit. It will start to pour. Of course, Uncle Kumeli will not give up immediately, he will make a very delicate plan to block the slope. In fact, we will see the real power of Uncle Kumeli in the next episode. Remember, to Vartolu Yamaz, what you said was coming in avalanche on time is next to your uncle. Snowball remains, he said. This sentence is an indication of how strong Uncle Kumeli is. In fact, by putting the whole legacy of both Efsun and Colton in financial terms, got stronger. In such a case, Yamaz will need much more support than necessary. So how can Uncle Kumeli cut the front of Yamaz? The first possibility that comes to mind in this regard is Efsun, the weakest and most sensitive point of Yamaz and fairy tale to her daughter. Uncle Kumeli may have a move in this regard. Efsun and her daughter to keep the Yamaz's head busy with other things instead of the pit. Can make a fine move about. By the way, Uncle Kumeli is very strong, yes, but like everyone else, he is also a sensitive point. He is Vartolu and Sultan. Surprising scenarios will be experienced especially regarding the Sultan. Yes, Uncle Kumeli will do his best to prevent Yamaz, but Yamaz and his hand will not collect pairs. So what will Yamaz do in this situation? Let's get to this topic now. Then, we will move on to other bomb issues with Vartolu. Yamaz, which cuts the Raken by returning to its essence, in the next section to restore Sakar. Will take the first step. Even exciting firecracker scenes await us. Among the priorities of Yamaz are, to return Sakar to its old order. Uncle Kumeli did not sit Idris in the coffee house and even in the house of Kozovans. Not even stopping, giving his house back to Alizo. Helping and meeting Efsun and her daughter. In short, a very difficult process awaits Yamaz. Yamaz, who was very angry especially at Uncle Kumeli's drug business, learned the location of the warehouse where he was doing his job and is expected to neutralize it. On the other hand, a riot will begin in the neighborhood. In fact, in the graffiti at the end of the last chapter on this subject, when the rebellion begins, spoiler was given. In short, some Sakar elements will no longer have a place in Sakar in this rebellion. So, who in this war is on the side of the slope and against whom? When we look at the family, in the first stage, the biggest supporters of Yamaz will be An and Kumeli. Akin had already left Sakar on time, but he was treacherously organized by Uncle Kumeli. After the plan of Yasmin, she was helpless. But now things will change. Kumeli Kozuval, With the return of Yamaz and the war, he declared, "It will be back." In short, Kumeli Kozuval, whom we miss, is coming back in this situation. It will be lived in a pleasing way. But when the final time approaches, this war that Sakar and Yamaz declared itself will sacrifice on its way. Yes, besides N and Kumeli, Selism, Emi, Alizo, Sultan, Happiness, Drop, Text, Salim, Medit and a few more Sakar elements will be next to Yamaz. The surprising names that are expected to stand in front of the slope are as follows. In the first place, Vartalu. We will open a separate parenthesis about this soon. Karaka, Meek, Ace, Murtaza. And the majority of the people of Sakar stand in front of the slope, and Kumeli will be with your uncle. In short, Uncle Kumeli will take the majority with him, but after the riot begins, names will change their ranks. In the following sections, Kairokute's people are expected to support Yamaz. But most of all, great blood will be shed in this war. The biggest signal of this is with the book Flowers of Evil, shown a few chapters ago. Was given, we talked about the details. As Melia said in Yamaz's dream, the people in Sakar are talking about each other for Sakar will kill. This scenario becomes reality. Now let's get to the Vartalu issue that many people are curious about. First, let's answer the frequently asked question, why is Vartalu's nose always is bleeding? Is Vartalu sick? As it is thought, Vartalu does not have any disease scenario, folks. The reason for his constant nose bleeding and the tremor of his legs is related to nervous and stress status. Her nose bleeds only at moments when she is very tense, anyway. We know that when he got very angry before, his eyes turned blood red. Even if the disease scenario is processed, our screenwriter quickly forgets it. Just like Medit, Ain and Emi's illnesses are often forgotten. Yes, let's get to the real issue now. Who will be with Vartalu from now on? In fact, Vartalu did his best to prevent war. About Sakar. Among the things he told to Yamaz, there are some issues that he is right. He tried to find a middle ground but failed. On the one hand, Kumeli does not want to break up with his uncle, trusts him, and he finds it right, because Uncle Kumeli has made a very perfect plan for Vartalu. Unaware of many dirty jobs, on the other hand, he does not want to lose Yamaz and his family. Wants to protect. But after this minute, he will make his choice and he will be next to Uncle Kumeli in the first stage. Will take. However, this does not mean that he will be an enemy and harm Yamaz. However, there will be scenes between them where the tension will be at the highest level. So how long will Vartalu be with Uncle Kumeli? This is where Kulkan will take the stage. There are 3 important facts that Vartalu has to learn. First, Uncle Kumeli deliberately sent him to another place for 1 year. And in this process, he took care of all his dirty work in the absence of Vartalu. The second is the slope. The fact that Uncle Kumeli is behind what happened to him and the tortures he suffered, and the third, and the emergence of the real issue between Idris Kozuval and Uncle Kumeli. Vartalu will learn all these facts in time and will be next to Yamaz, but this is a bit. It will take time. First of all, some facts will emerge with the Kulkan script. However, this will only appear if Kulkan dies. Therefore, Uncle Kumeli took Kulkan under protection. But after Yamaz and Efsum came together, Kulkan's. After chasing him and cutting his ticket, Kulkan's man sent all the facts directly to Vartalu. He will go and tell. Thus, Vartalu will have learned some facts. Another fact is expected to be told by Emi a few episodes later. The main reasons for the war between Idris and Kumeli, among which are the Sultan and drugs. When it comes out, everyone will be against Uncle Kumeli. And in this process, there will be many farewells. Finally, let's talk about enchantment and slope. The scenario on this issue is progressing slower than we expected. Yamaz's rescue of Efsum, the death of Nizam, Efsum's rescue of Sakar, and even again, the return of the Kosovans to their home. All this will happen, But this scenario is a bit slow. Enchantment naturally thinks that Yamas has abandoned him and never called. Mad at him for. But when he learns about the pain of Yamas, the size of the work will change. Slope, on the other hand, will save Efsun from this swamp and bring it home again and will do its best to keep you safe together. However, Yamas and enchantment about Masal is a new adventure in the upcoming episodes. We'll wait. I hope Yamas' scenario to save Efsun and that the two are now fully reunited. It is not extended any further. Because the scenario to be experienced is certain and the slow progress of this issue. It caused the reaction. Of course, there is also a postponed circumcision wedding of Vartalu's son Idris. On the other hand, surprise flashback scenes are waiting for us in the new episode. Both Idris and Kumali about the past of Uncle and when Kumali went after Uncle. Flashback scenes about the fallen hero Kozuval are expected. Along with these scenes, a few more surprising secrets in the story of Uncle Kumali have emerged. It will be. New videos will keep coming, folks. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss out and get notified instantly. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Kukur episode 27 trailer. Yamas Kosoval's Great Rest, Sukur's last great battle is officially started. In the next episode, both Uncle Kumali and Yamas will attack the war. There will be moves. Who will be next to the slope and against to win the Great War? There are big surprises in this regard. On the other hand, an unexpected development awaits Yamas regarding Efsun. Who succeeded in Bartoluchos and Wies is not constantly bleeding. The surprise scenario about Kumali Kosoval will play a severe. The successive moves of Yamas will keep the excitement at the guest level. The shocking Kulkan script and secret file facts will surprise everyone. We'll talk about all this and more, all the details you shouldn't miss out on in a minute. Let's start right now. First, let's start with the last scene of the last episode, namely the declaration of war by Yamas. The deplorable state of Sukur, the division of the young people and their distancing from each other. Declaring war on Yamas, who learned that his family was dispersed and his uncle's drug business. This was more than enough for. If finds out that Uncle Kumali was being tortured suffered for 2 years. This will also appear in the following chapters, then there will be no stone on the stone. Although Bartolu Christoph in the middle by explaining the right reasons for himself. He did not succeed in that, and what he was afraid of happened to him. So the war broke out between his father's son and half of his father. We will soon come to will be with Bartolu and his scenes. Let's underline this before. The pit will now be divided in half. Instead of the enemy suicide, the family and toss in the pit. It will start to pour. Of course, Uncle Kumali will not give up immediately. He will make a very delicate plan to block the slope. In fact, we will see the real power of Uncle Kumali in the next episode. Remember, to Bartolu Yamas, what you said was coming an avalanche on time is next to your uncle. Snowball remains aside. This sentence is an indication of how strong Uncle Kumali is. In fact, by putting the whole legacy of both Efsun and Kulkan in financial terms. Got stronger. In such a case, Yamas will need much more support than necessary. So how can Uncle Kumali cut the front of Yamas? The first possibility that comes to mind in this regard is Efsun, the weakest and most sensitive point of Yamas and Fairy Tale to her daughter. Uncle Kumali may have moved in this regard. Efsun and her daughter took the Yamas a busy with other things instead of the pit. Can make a fine move about. By the way, Uncle Kumali is very strong, yes, but like everyone else, he is also a sensitive point. There is. He is Bartolu and Sultan. Surprising scenarios will be experienced especially regarding the Sultan. Yes, Uncle Kumali will do his best to prevent Yamas, but Yamas and his gang will not collect pairs. So what will Yamas do in this situation? Let's get to this topic now. Then, we will move on to other one business with Bartolu. Yamas, who cuts the raccoon by returning to its essence, in the next section to restore Sukur. We'll take the first step. Even exciting firecrackers Fenesawaitus. Among the priorities of Yamas are, to return Sukur to its old order. Uncle Kumali did not sit idly in the coffee house and even in the house of Kosovans. Not even stopping, giving English how actually so. Helping and meeting if soon under daughter. In short, a very difficult process awaits Yamas. Yamas, who was very angry especially at Uncle Kumali's drug business. Learned the location of the warehouse where he was doing his job is expected to neutralize it. On the other hand, a riot will begin in the neighborhood. In fact, in the graffiti at the end of the last chapter on the subject, when the rebellion begins. Spoiler was given. In short, some Sukur elements will no longer have a place in Sukur in this rebellion. So, when this war is on the side of the Slopean against whom? When we look at the family, in the first stage, the biggest supporters of Yamas will be Aknan Kumali. Akinadal already left Sukur on time, but it was treacherously organized by Uncle Kumali. After the plan of Yasmin, she was helpless. But no things will change. Kumali Kosoval, with the return of Yamas and the war declared. It will be back to in short, Kumali Kosoval, who we Mrs. Kumiwak this situation. It will be lived in a pleasing way. But when the final time approaches, this war that Sukur and Yamas declare itself. Will sacrifice on its way. Yes, beside Saknan Kumali, Felasun, me, Aliso, Sultan, Happiness, drop, text. Salim, Medetana Feomore Sukur elements will be next to Yamas. The surprising names that are expected to stand in front of the slope areas follows, in the first place. Bartolu, we will open a separate parenthesis about this zone, Karaka, Meke, Aise, Murtaza. And the majority of the people of Sukur stand in front of the slope and Kumali. Will be with your uncle. In short, Uncle Kumali will take the majority with him, but after the riot begins. Names will change their ranks. In the following sections, Karakuf people are expected to support Yamas. But most of all, great blood will be said in this war. The biggest signal of this is with the book Flowers of Evil Zone a few chapters agosto. Was given, we talked about the details. As well as I did Yamas dream, the people in Sukur are talking about the Achoter for Sukur. Will kill apostrophe. This scenario becomes reality. Now let's get to the Bartolu's what that many people are curious about. First, let's answer the frequently asked question, who is Bartolus no se always? Is bleeding, is Bartolu sick? As it is taught, Bartolu does not have any disease scenario, folks. The reason for his constant nose bleeding and the tremor of his legs is related to nerves and stress. Status. Nose bleeds only at moments when she is very tense, only why. When not when I got very angry before, he says turned blood red. Even if the disease scenario is professed, our screen writer quickly forgets it. Just like Medet, Aknanem is necessary often forgotten. Yes, let's get to the realism now. Who will be with Bartolu from now on? In fact, Bartolu did his best to prevent war, about Sukur. Among the things he told to Yamas, there are some ways Westate is right. A threat of in the middle ground would fail. On the one hand, Kumali does not want to break up with his uncle, trusts him man. Finds it right, because Uncle Kumali has made a very perfect plan for Bartolu. Una war of many dirty jobs, on the other hand, he does not want to lose Yamas and his family. Wants to protect. But after this minute, he will make his choice and he will be next to Uncle Kumali in the first stage. Will take. However, this does not mean that he will be an enemy and harm Yamas. However, there will be scenes between them where the tension will be at the highest level. So how long will Bartolu be with Uncle Kumali? This is where Kulkan will take the stage. There are three important facts that Bartolu has to learn. First, Uncle Kumali deliberately sent into another place for 1 year. And in this process, he took care of all his dirty work in the absence of Bartolu. The second is the slope. The fact that Uncle Kumali is being what happened to him and the tortures he suffered and the tear. And the emergency of the realism between Idris Kosoval and Uncle Kumali. Bartolu will learn all these facts in time and will be next to Yamas, but this is a bit. It will take time. First of all, some facts will emerge with the Kulkan script. However, this will only appear if Kulkan dies. Therefore, Uncle Kumali took Kulkan under protection. But after Yamas annexed Unkame to Jeter, Kulkan's. After chasing him and cutting his ticket, Kulkan's man sent all the facts directly to Bartolu. He will go and tell. Thus, Bartolu will have learned some facts. Another fact is expected to be told by a few episodes later. The main reasons for the war between Idris and Kumali, among which are the Sultan and drugs. When it comes out, everyone will be against Uncle Kumali. And in this process, there will be many faraway. Finally, let's talk about enchantment and slope. The scenario on this way is progressing lower than we expected. Yama's rescue of Efsun, the death of Nifam, Efsun's rescue of Sukur and even again. The return of the Kosovans to their home. All this will happen, but this scenario is a bit slow. Enchantment naturally thinks that Yamas has abandoned him and never called. Mad at him for. But when he learns about the pain of Yamas, the size of the world will change. Slope, on the other hand, will save Efsun from this swamp and bring it home again and will do its best to keep Yusuf together. However, Yamas and enchantment about Masali is a new adventure in the upcoming episodes. Will White. Yope Yamas scenario to save Efsun and that two are now fully reunited. It is not extended any further. Because the scenario to be experienced is certain and the slow progress of this issue. It caused the reaction. Of course, there is also a postponed circumcision wedding of Bartolus and Idris. On the other hand, surprise flashbacks fans are waiting for us in the new episode. Both Idris and Kumali about the past of Uncle and when Kumali went after Uncle. Flashbacks fans about the Fayanero Kosovo are expected. Along with these fans, a few more surprising secrets in the story of Uncle Kumali have emerged. It will be. New videos will keep coming, folks. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss out and get notified instantly. Take care of yourself, yeah.